Good evening. I'm Amy Kendal from Maryville Academy, and we really welcome you to our Maryville Cares show today as we embark on a very important issue that's going on throughout the state and specifically here in Chicago that you're going to hear more about. I'm the administrator for Community Family-Based Services at Maryville, and we are just very grateful for this opportunity to share some really critical information for families here in the Chicagoland area, specifically regarding families with young children. We know, as we've talked about in previous shows, how critical these first 5 years of life are and how the experiences that they're having and the support that families receive can really make all the difference, whether it's in the home or at the library or at school. And so I'm just really grateful for our guest this evening, my friend Edna, and I think I can call her my friend Edna, who we've known for many years, and her role here at Birth to Five. And so share with us your background.
Sure.
And all the great work that you've done for so long about children and families.
Thank you, Amy. And so my name is Edna Navarro-Vidaurre, and I am the Regional Council Manager for Birth to Five Illinois, Region 1A, Cook County, Chicago. So I am a mom of four. I am a former early childhood teacher, both in community-based programs and in the public school system. I am a community organizer. I was born and raised in Chicago. I am an early childhood advocate, and adding to our list of things that we do is working on building community systems.
Well, and I think, since you and I have talked previously when I came to your new offices there, and how community organizing and people talking about the issues and then what is going to be next. I think one of the things that I really embrace what you keep saying to me is what's the call to action, like, talking about things and then making them happen and then implementing is really critical. And honestly, this is an amazing day because Birth to Five is implementing something that's going to really be very critical to the state of Illinois. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we are, again, very excited to be here. It is a very exciting day today as Birth to Five launches our early childhood regional needs assessments. I am one of 39 regions across the state who have been really working hard along with our community members, family members, many stakeholders to really find out why families are not able to access early childhood services. And not only are we, have we launched this organizing effort to hear from families directly, but we are also poised to tell our decision makers, right, what it is that they need, what families are choosing, and how do we help inform our decision makers so that they are making the best decisions possible for their own community. So again, we're really excited. Today is our first day of launching. And so, depending on where you are in one of 39 regions, you are able to find and access a regional needs assessment, an executive summary, and an infographic. So that's kind of a little bit of who we are and what we've been up to. But we have really taken the show on the road. We have had a lot of great partners who have invited us to come to their stakeholders and really listen in on what families need. And not only families, but our providers, right? In early childhood and in other sectors, because we know our children live outside of early childhood programs, right? They're engaging our health system. They're engaging our housing system. And so we want to really hear from different providers and families want, comprehensive services. And as long as we're building that foundation, our hope is really that village is hoping to carry their children and families right into once they get into the school system.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the infographic that you shared with me that's been launched, and Edna's going to give us some more details on where you can get more information. But one powerful piece of information that's shared here is that 80% of focus groups that participated indicated that their child or family experienced difficulty accessing information regarding early childhood education programs. Now, looking back many years now, my kids are older, but I'm just thinking about what I did as a parent with my 3 kids in terms of trying to really figure out how can I find the right type of programming, educational programming. But, as a working mom myself and thinking about trying to find opportunities for them, with limited funds, how do you find the things at the library and at the museums and different healthcare issues that come up with young children and negotiating all that? And when you think about it, 80% said that they had difficulty accessing that. And it just makes me wonder, like, I wonder what that difficulty is about. Is it access to the internet? Is it knowing what right platforms to look at? Is it families are not talking to one another? I've always said, as the director of the crisis nursery, I would always say, if you want a good plumber, you go to somebody that you trust because you want to make sure your plumbing, your toilet's working okay. And I think when it comes to children, you talk to other parents and you say, what was your experience like? And so our parents talking to one another, and that's the amazing value of this opportunity is now you really have set the bar high, that families are now going to be able to have that ability to talk to one another in a real important way. And so, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like what is that going to look like?
Yeah, so, over the past year, we have been convening families, various community stakeholders. We've been going out in community, like you said, and having, focus groups and interviews and things like that, right? And so, I think we're very fortunate in Chicago that we have a lot of places where there's already been a lot of existing work, right? And so existing tables where families are at. But to your point, right, so what are the barriers? If 80% of the participants are saying that they are having, issues with access. And that's really at the core of Birth to 5 Illinois is equity, right?
I
know. Our systems, equitable as far as how many resources and really are we making it accessible to families, right? And not only that, but making sure that our systems and our programs are not also creating barriers to entering these and accessing these programs, right?
Well, and when I look at and I talk to many families. In fact, I was meeting with a parent earlier today, and she's looking at opportunities for her son to just be able to engage in a soccer, because he's got a lot of energy. He needs to be moving. And, looking for scholarships because some of these things are just very expensive. But this is vital to his well-being, right? That, lots of parents just kind of sign their kids up and it's not a big deal. But for those, children whose families have limited funding, how do you find out about that, particularly with working families? Are the opportunities available when we know that families are working non-traditional work hours? Right. Families are working in the evenings, they're working weekends. And how do we negotiate those? And, at Maryville, we're always trying to think about that with other providers. When do you set up a meeting? Is it at 6 o'clock? Is it 5 o'clock? Is it doing it in the morning? How do you engage that you're going to be able to support people in a very, productive way? And, in a minute here, we're going to put on a PowerPoint just to share some information here about, some of the information. But let's talk a little bit about what your next steps are to get information out to the community.
Well, and also just to piggyback on what you're saying, Amy, that came out loud and clear, was that families at times don't know where, they don't know what they don't know, right? And so they may look to family members, they may look to their neighbors, they may look to their faith-based providers, they may look, they might be at the laundromat and ask around, right? And so really it is sort of this, it is important that person-to-person contact, finding out that way. Internet is also sometimes, it's available, but some families prefer that in-person contact or that face-to-face contact, or can I pick up the hotline number and have somebody, I can talk to, right? And so, I think what came out loud and clear was we need multiple ways to engage our systems, right? having a website that may not be up to date or may not have the right contact info or I may not be able to call and just speak to somebody, right? I may have limited minutes for my phone. And so if I'm surfing the web, it may take up my data, right? And so really, it's really trying to figure out how to meet families where they're at, both digitally, both in person, the virtual option now of having meetings. And again, to your point of like what day, what time. And really what I'm really proud to say is we have diversified the way that we have really tried to reach out to families and community members, both in the day, in the afternoon, in the evening, on the weekends. And so I think it's an opportunity to rethink the way that we're connecting with families and community stakeholders.
Well, and I think what clearly has been established, and it is the foundation, is that you're going to a trusted resource. You want to go to people that you trust, and that's going to give you information that's going to be valuable because, as I talked to a mom and a dad today, we all as parents, once, especially when they're little and now we're a new parent, now we need to really think about what do we really value, like what is it that's going to be important in how we're raising our children. And it becomes very important when you're deciding even where you're living. And then where is it that you're going to provide and get into the right educational program? Is it a part-time, or full-time to a half-day program? How are we negotiating all of the schedules? And I think that knowledge is obviously power, and I think that you're uplifting the opportunities for that knowledge to get out there with trusted voices, and then that allows people to make good choices and ask more questions. And I think that that's just really incredible. And I'm seeing, what you found is that families really, not only for families, but who they trust their children with. One of the most critical, anybody who's worked with children knows, the most critical thing about taking care of somebody else's child is making sure that they're going to be safe and that the adults around them are safe. And so I see here with one of the needs that is recommended is the workforce. People who are taking care of children in any context, we want them to be, happy and thriving and be wanting to support our children. And so increasing, how we can grow that workforce. We clearly know how critical that the diversity of what are the adults around children. There's all kinds of people in the world and they look different and they talk different. And what are we going to do to make that happen so we can be respectful and help each other? And also, it seems to me like one of the other needs here was just being able to know that the collaboration is strong. And, these councils, 39, that's pretty significant. That it's not just Chicago. We got our background with our beautiful Chicago background, and yes, we both grew up here. But, families also move. They move to different parts of the state. And so that now you can say, why don't you connect with this person?
Exactly.
And how is that going to affect, the early intervention that a child's receiving? We know, weeks and months go by very fast, and those are critical times for our little ones, can make or break situations at times. We've seen it work, and we've seen it not work so well at times.
Right.
Any other thoughts that you want to share in terms of, the next steps and how people reach out?
Yeah, so again, today is the first day of launching the regional needs assessments. Again, to your point, right, families move. So if you happen to have a summer move during the next month or so, there are 38 other regions across the state, and happy to connect folks to their region. But what's next is making sure that people know about this regional needs assessment, right? And so we are sharing it out to our council members, to focus group, folks who participated in our focus groups, our elected leaders, various community stakeholders throughout Chicago. And really we want just folks to be able to dig into what we found. And not only, with the full report, but again, we have an executive summary, we've got an infographic, we're also on social media, so we're pushing it out, through social media and our mailing list as well. But we're also creating an opportunity for folks to join in a virtual community feedback session, right? And so we have a couple of those dates coming up, and I can share that.
Yeah, share those dates. I mean, I think, and I think we're going to say it more than once, but I want you to really share your website.
Yep.
That people can go to, and I will say that after today, they will be putting this out on different platforms, so that way we can shout it out to our families with little ones. This is so critical to the well-being of our families, and we know that programming outside of the home is such a obviously a need, but the quality of what that's going to look like. And so why don't you share a little bit about these meetings that are going to be coming up?
Yeah, so we have a handful of virtual community feedback sessions. And to Amy's point, our website, and I'm going to say it slowly,
yes,
is birth25il.com/region 1A. So that is our website. Once you get to our website, you will be able to access the report and the infographic, as well as this little flyer, which is probably going to show up backwards on your screen, but it has it in English and Spanish, and you can select from a number of dates and times. Just want to get an RSVP to know how many people to expect. And the sessions will be done in English and in Spanish. And so that is one way that you can, access, provide feedback. Another way that you can provide feedback is just, shooting me an email or a call. You want to set up a meeting? We're happy to go all over the city of Chicago, really, to collect that information. We have also set up a number of meetings with different partners across the city. Who've invited us, and folks that we may have engaged during the needs assessment, and especially folks that we haven't, because there's 77 communities in Chicago.
Yeah.
We were not able to get everywhere.
Yes.
And so we really want to be intentional with hearing from folks who we had not engaged, right? And we want to understand, what did we get right? What are we still missing? What other things should we be thinking about that families really need, right? And so, so besides virtual, we are doing a set of in-person meetings, and we are doing many community outreach events this summer. It's the season.
I saw you out there on a very hot day.
Very hot day. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you there. We'll have some of these, infographics available, and we love to have conversations with different folks, right? And really understand what families' needs are. And so that is another way. We also have a Facebook group.
All right.
Yes. Some of our families, want to build that sense of community virtually, right? And so we've got a Facebook group that folks can join. That is called, if you look up Birth to 5 Illinois, Region 1A, Cook County, City of Chicago. It's a group. You will be able to find us also on Facebook. And that's just a great place. Families are just sharing different resources, right? Again, you're building your social network, you're building your village, and people don't know what they don't know, right? And so this is a great space for people to share and gather some of that information. And it's also a great place to find out where we're at in the city, because we're everywhere.
Well, and that's very valuable, because I'll tell you, last month we had a parent cafe, which is an opportunity for families to come. We have dinner, and then the kids get to be, hang out and play with our volunteers and support. And then we have the Augustus Tolton Peace Corner or Peace Center on the west side. And we literally had families come from the suburbs to come to this. And, having that opportunity to just listen to somebody else, and how many families will say, I never really even thought about that. And I think that, we've heard this before, but COVID really, rocked our world. And now as we're trying to re-engage, it's quite clear when you think about the mental health crisis that we're dealing with, and that's on many different layers. it really becomes about being connected. And you're obviously providing all these different outlets for people to be connected. And that is a way that goes to the mental, I mean, what goes to the mental health of the adults is going to automatically move on to our little ones. And we want them to be thriving and laughing and, you know, learning from the adults that they're around. And when families are stressed, whether from a financial point of view or they're having a health-related issue, as you mentioned earlier, housing, and they're just not sure, it's daunting. It becomes overwhelming. And so this really is an outlet to be able to connect. So give us some more of these details of the information. Is there, I'd like you to give out that website again. And I don't know if there's a phone number that would be good to reach out, if you can share that.
Yep. So again, our website is, I'm going to say it a little bit slower, www.birth, BIRTH, 2 TO 5 FIVEIL.com/region, REGION, the number 1A. So that is our website. Again, we also have a Facebook group that you can join called Birth to 5 Illinois, Region 1A, Cook County, City of Chicago. We also have a brick and mortar. We actually intentionally co-located with a WIC grocery store, so we get to see.
I went to visit her.
You saw them. We get to see babies and their families come in on a daily basis, and so that address is 3110 West Armitage. We are near Armitage and Kedzie, again co-located inside of the WIC grocery store. We also have a phone number. It is 309-393-2552. And so just some basics of how to get a hold of us. But we are also looking for council members. So, you know, it is an opportunity. Some folks would, you know, have some time or feel it's very important to, you know, join a council. So we are looking for council members, both for our Action Council and our Family Council. And again, it really is an opportunity to dig into this report and really think about, right, like, and prioritize what of these recommendations do we want to actually turn into action, right? We don't want to just sit and talk about it. We have the attention of many elected officials and many, you know, agencies, state agencies that are ready and willing to roll up their sleeves and try to improve the way that, you know, our families are engaging the system. So again, if you go to our website, you can fill out an interest form. The deadline to complete that interest form is August 11th. And families are able to join both either the Family Council or the Action Council. And the only thing you need to you know, that makes you eligible is, do you live in the city of Chicago? Do you have a child under the age of 8? And are you willing to participate in meetings? And so we have been connecting virtually. We offered a hybrid version as well. We meet twice a month for about an hour and a half. And again, it really is to share your experiences, share your thoughts around how to improve these systems in the city of Chicago and throughout the state.
Well, and what's really wonderful, you know, for all my years here at Maryville and working with children and families, it's just delightful to know that Illinois really is becoming a leader nationally in terms of how we've taken early childhood to another level and been able to put in many different platforms for us to really start taking this very seriously, in the sense that we know that if we put our attention to children at this time, it is going to have a ripple effect that is going to be a lifetime. And we have a responsibility to that. And as a parent myself, and working with many parents, you know, how do we do that in a way that we can make a difference? And sometimes, as I told a mom earlier today, you know, this is very broad and this is all very critical, but it also has to be reminded that we have to just be gentle and supportive to our babies and to, you know, be connected to them, that we kind of get caught up in the whirlwind of things, and really our children need our attention. And so these platforms are really eager to hear you, and also eager to figure out ways that are going to make a difference, not only to your child, but other people's children, because those children are around your children. And, you know, anybody who's who's pregnant right now, this is going to be really important information, you know, during your pregnancy and as you're thinking about childcare issues or any health-related issues. You want to be able to find a good pediatrician. You want to be able to find those right supports. So, you know, we know we just have to be wrapping this up here, but I want you to come back because this is so vital. And any last words that you want to say here in our last few minutes or last few seconds here?
Yeah, get involved. We have many ways to get involved. Again, it's really important for us to provide that platform for families to get access to programs, whether it's homes or anywhere, really, right? And we want to be your village. We want to support you as you're raising your children. And we want Chicago and Illinois to really be the best place to raise a family. And so get involved. We'll find a way, even if it's, you know, 30 seconds or a minute or 5 minutes. But I really want you to also, our call to action is really share it with other families, share it with other providers that you have a voice. And we want to meet you where you're at and making sure that we're able to influence the change that your family needs.
Well, and with that, we thank you again for joining Maryville Cares, and we, you know, wish you a good evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you so much.